Let's get ready to story!
There's a web strategist, as you see, living in DC. And actually, I love this story so much, I'll read it verbatim. Grew up in West Side, still adheres to the Scranton Boiled Water Advisory of the 1980s. After her childhood parish priest, a vivid storyteller described the painful diarrhea that the tap water gave him. Please welcome Barrett.
Hello. I'm scared to death. Let's get that right out of the way. Hi, I also went to St. Pat's, by the way, and in 5th grade, just briefly, we had a teacher from Peru who had come in. She had been a missionary, and we spent the entire 5th grade playing math bingo. I make that's my excuse for being so bad at math. I barely graduated high school from my poor math grades. Anyway, tonight, closer to the mic? Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me though?
Okay, so tonight I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Missy League at the Lackawanna Little League in West Side. Now the time period for this is the early to mid 1980s. And if you're familiar with the Lackawanna Little League, the field is great. The whole complex is great. And the boys' field is this really perfectly manicured, fenced-in field. It has sunken dugouts. I remember, if I recall correctly, the sponsors for the boys' team would have placards lining along the fence to show their support. The Missy League was kind of new and poorly funded. Our field was this abandoned moonscape adjacent to the boys' field, littered with bits of glass and rock and cigarette butts. And not too far from the creek, we used to call it the crick. And it had a lot of bushes and overgrown bushes and tall grass, behind which the serial masturbator used to hang out. We called him Bernie of the Bushes. I don't think his name was Bernie, and I never saw his face, but he was a huge early supporter of the Missy League. He had all of our names. So, you know, words like Missy League and softball, I mean, it just sounds so lame, you know, like boys played hardball, and I think we couldn't get sponsors for our teams. The girls had to play, like 7-year-olds played with 14-year-olds. They couldn't split us up by age. So we kind of felt like we were a little neglected, you know, and I think there was some sense that girls weren't as competitive and it wasn't as interesting to watch. But I'm here to tell you that in West Side, Missy League baseball, like love in the 80s, was a battlefield. It was. So, you know, I used to watch the boys a lot. I like boys, and we'd watch them play. And I have an older brother, and when boys get upset, you know, like they kick the dirt, they whip off a hat, like, or the helmet, they, like, whip a bat, you know, maybe they'll like curse, like, fuck you, you screwed up, you know, and it'd be like a flashpoint, and then it would dissipate, you know, and they'd get reprimanded for that kind of behavior in a game. Missy League was very different, and girls, you know, are very different. For example, we had this fence that ran behind home plate and halfway up the first and third base lines. And we had little benches on either side of the fence. And they were sort of like on both sides of the first and third base line. And they were like makeshift dugouts for the girls. But very few girls actually sat on the benches. Most of the girls were on the fence. And they were climbing on the fence. And they had their fingers interlaced in the fence. And if anyone did anything that caught their attention on the opposing team, they would yell things. They'd yell things like, you know, like, you're hideously ugly! What kind of underwear are you wearing? They look like diapers. Diaper girl, hey diaper girl! You don't have a father! These are from memory. I'm not making these up. There was one girl who, like, one of the her team was missing a tooth, and we used to call her No Tooth. And it was like a tooth, an adult tooth that wasn't growing back. So people would be like, hey, No Tooth, you suck. So these were not creative insults. They were crude psychological torment used to unseat an opponent. And it worked. It did. Now, I did not participate in this. I was kind of a shy, you know, kid. I've worn glasses since I was 7. I wouldn't be wearing them tonight, actually. In an ironic twist, I kind of screwed up my eye and I have to wear glasses. But, like, you're all a big blur. I can't see a thing. And when I was 7, it was the same way. But I wouldn't wear them. I was embarrassed. So I'd carry them with me. And I couldn't see the ball. I was a terrible player. More often than not, my fielding strategy was like, I got it, I got it, I got it. And then I would get hit with it. And then I would throw it. And that was my fielding strategy. my best friend was this natural athlete. People used to confuse us for sisters. She was extremely good. And our team, despite my involvement, was one of the best teams in the Mississippi. And so I was always in the outfield because I could throw the ball, you know, but that was pretty much all I could do. I could run. All of my friends were in the infield. They were really good. And we also had this really great catcher. She self-applied the nickname The Wall because no one was going to get by the wall to home plate, you know. And so The Wall's dad was our coach. And two quick things about him that I remember. He drove a bitchin' El Camino. Yeah. And he was obsessed with Don Johnson and Miami Vice. Completely obsessed with that television show. So this one particular game I'm thinking of, you know, all the girls are on the fence and we're playing one of our big rivals in the game, or another team. And the pitcher on that team was really good. She was my best friend, was our pitcher on our team, and she was her competitor. And this girl she was a big girl. And she was in love with the umpire, who was like 18. And we had V-neck uniforms. And she used to go braless when he was umping. And so when she was pitching, she would do something kind of like this. Lean low, like she was catching signals from the catcher, who was like, I'm not joking, 8 years old. And the catcher's like, and the umpire, by the way, the whole time is just not saying a word, right? So this behavior does not get past my team. They're furious, right? All the girls are on the fence. And my best friend yells, "You're a heifer! A heifer!" Screams it. And lots of girls are yelling things, right? But there was something about the power behind heifer that it really, it hit deep. All right? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if even Bernie missed a beat. You know, it went really quiet fast. And the next inning, I go running out to first base because the first baseman was sick, and they, in desperation, put me on first base. And I was so thrilled. I loved baseball so much. I was so thrilled I was in the infield. And I knew I sucked, but I didn't care. I was very enthusiastic about sucking. And so I'm on first base. I get to play with my best friend, who's the catcher, or the pitcher. And I run out, and I'm waiting for, we're waiting for the inning to begin, and the first base coach is staring at me real hard, and I can feel it, and I look over, and she's this woman who's like, I don't know how old, like, everybody when you're a kid is like 50, right? Like, well, I don't know how old this woman was, but she was wearing like stonewashed jeans, tight, and they were up to her belly button, and she had a tight t-shirt, and she was smoking a cigarette, and she was looking at me real hard, and she's like, "You're fucking dead after the game. Fucking little bitch. Why do you call people names and get away with it? I heard you big shot with your friends in the dugout." Now, big shot, I mean, clearly this woman has the wrong person, right? And so I'm just sort of staring at her, I'm in shock. And like any self-respecting kid growing up in West Side, I had been threatened and chased by all of my neighbors for like numerous like silly innocent things, but I had never had anyone speak to me this way or threaten my life. So I took it for real. I called time. I was like, time. And I went to her and I said, "I'm sorry, there must be this terrible misunderstanding. Like I didn't say anything. It wasn't me." And she's not buying it. She's like, "Who is it then? If it wasn't you, who was it?" So I can't tell her it's my friend. So I said, "I don't know who it was. I don't know who did it." I go back into the dugout. All my friends are around me, all my teammates, like, "What happened?" I was like, "She's gonna have to kill me." And everyone's like, "Whoa, really? The mom?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so my best friend's in this terrible dilemma because she can't say, "Oh yeah, I'm the one who did it," because then she's gonna get beaten up. She doesn't want me to get beaten up. She's like, "We need to get a ride home with somebody. We need to get a ride." And all these parents start coming to the dugout in between innings. And I say, "Look, we're going to give you a ride home. You can't stay here." And each inning that I'm out, my enthusiastic run becomes this crawl. Like I'm in Barrett. I don't want to go to first base. I'm terrified. And every time I'm on first base, the mother's just sitting there going, "Bitch, little bitch, I'm going to fucking kill you." So, I'm terrified, right? And when these parents come, I say, I can't take a ride. I refuse the ride. And I don't know if you've all felt this at points in your life where you want to go back to when you were a kid and kind of like pat yourself on the head like, "Oh, you poor stupid thing." That was pretty much me. I felt like I'm innocent. I didn't do anything wrong, and I'm not afraid. If I go home, I'm gonna look like a coward, and I'm not a coward. I'm telling my best friend this in the dugout, and I say, "I'm gonna go to the refreshment stand after the game. I'm gonna meet them, and I'm gonna explain to them that violence isn't the answer." And I'm going through this whole thing, and my best friend is like, "Yeah, you're an idiot. You're an do you realize this? They're going to kill you. They don't care whether you called them a name or not. They're going to kill you. So I ignore her. I'm adamant. I say, you need to take the ride home. I won't be mad. I'm going to do this. I don't know why. I'm blatant Catholic school, actually. I was like right up on the cross. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be the mom. And so the game ends. The crowds dissipate. I see my best friend in a car. She's getting a ride home with a parent. She's kind of waving, like, I'm waving back. And I'm waiting. The refreshment stand is shuttering up. The 3 girls show up, and they're just laughing at me. You know, clearly you want the shit kicked out of you. And so I'm standing there, and I say, I'm not afraid of you. And I'm not the one who called your name. And I think this is silly. We have to fight over this. This is just ridiculous. This doesn't have to be this way. And the girl really thought about it, you know. She was like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking rip the shit out of you. Kick the shit out of you, you know, like she was not buying it. And so I was sort of waiting, because I've never been in a fight in my life. I hadn't then or since, and I thought, you know, this is it. It's gonna happen. I'm just sort of steeling myself for it, and right before she gets to me, the wall steps between us. And the wall and her dad had, I guess, arranged. They figured this was going to happen. They wanted to give me a chance to they talked to some other parents, said, we'll wait, we'll make sure that she doesn't get killed, you know, because a lot of people figured that I would, knowing me. And so the wall gets between us. I'll never forget, she has a paper cup of soda in her hand, and she says, if you touch Katie Barrett, I'm going to do this to you. And she squeezes the paper cup, and the soda rolls down her hand, and then she litters. It was badass, right? And it was enough. It scared the girls. And so I was astonished. You know, that was all it took. And I got a ride home in the bitchin' El Camino. And I played Missy League softball till I was 13. I sucked at every minute of it. And I never had my life threatened again. And I think I have the wall to thank for that, wherever she is. And I think everyone should have a wall in West Side.